Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. In today's video, we talk about assumptions viewers like you have about me, Preston, and Kyle. I mean, come on. Secretly, we all judge based on signals and things we've learned throughout our lifetime. If someone lives in a big house, maybe we'll think, wow, they have money. Or when someone is well-dressed, people automatically assume that they're better educated, they're more competent, they earn more, and so forth. Now, we've been making videos on YouTube since like 2014, 2015, and I can totally get it, right? You watch us, you watch me, you maybe see a video and think, what a dick. Or maybe you're like, wow, he's competent. Or maybe you think like, wow, is this guy boring or a snob or whatever it is. So in today's video, we wanted to take a more casual approach. We asked you on YouTube and we went through our comments just to see what kind of assumptions people have about us. So we'll just go through those. I have not seen them. No one else has. So let's take a closer look at what people think and whether it's true or not. Assumption number one, from Eric Osagi. Raphael is a German sleeper agent. Well, there's multiple elements to it. Am I German? Yes. Am I a sleeper agent? No. But even if I was one, obviously I wouldn't tell you or I'd have to kill you. Next up, Marcus Durante. Like others, I thought Raphael was a snob or pretentious. Am I a snob? Maybe to a certain extent where I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna, eat this because it's not worth the calories. Or I'm not gonna wear this because I don't have to. Typically when people say, oh, this is a snobbish guy, I don't see myself in that. Am I pretentious? Well, I maybe sometimes say things that people interpret as such. I wouldn't characterize myself as pretentious. So, false. Njenga Gajanya. When I first saw Raphael, I could have sworn that he was a member of the German aristocracy, possibly an heir to a lavish title of Earl or Duke. By the way he carried himself with a gait that suggested that he had really old surname and lived in one of the many ancient castles in Bavaria. Funny. Well, actually, my last name is Schneider, which means tailor in German. It's, I think, the fourth most common last name in Germany. And it's anything but noble, right? Tailors, they had a guild, but they used to be craftsmen. My mom's dad, my grandpa, he was a farmer. My father's dad, also my grandpa, he did plumbing and he had a little shoe repair shop and did all sorts of stuff. So no, I don't have any noble background, castles I've seen, just as a tourist. But yeah, false. Davy Reyes. Raphael still secretly tells himself through his inner monologue that people dress like peasants because he can't use that word in spoken language anymore without backlash. Yes, I think peasant really became popular through this one video, 19 Things Men Should Never Wear. And if you haven't already watched it, I did a reaction video to it. We filmed it at a time when we really had the idea of saying, let's attract people who think like us and let's detract others. I think ever since we've really realized that, hey, ultimately style is manifold, you can do whatever you want, and we're an opt-in culture, right? If you like what we do, if you're interested in this, then we are for you. If you're not interested, well, that's okay, right? You don't have to be here. There's other stuff for you. That doesn't mean that you have to feel insulted or I have to insult you, because what's the point, right? Farhan Ahmad. You all secretly want to have days where you do not care about your attire and just relax at home in your pants. When we filmed all these videos, people recognize me. And it's often in or places you don't expect it. Hey, I'll pick up some takeout food, from the Chinese restaurant or a Jamaican restaurant, with my bike helmet on and my bike shorts. And someone is like, hey, Sven, I love your videos. And, dropping off a package at UPS or, in the most random places, people will recognize me. And, I'll wear what I wear. Sometimes it's, really a nice 3-piece suit, and sometimes it's just a pair of shorts and my boat shoes. Sometimes it's, my hair gel, and sometimes it's like in my original natural state. And that's just the way it is. Samuel Schwager says, Raphael has more clothes and shoes than his wife. True. Igbo Kwenu, Raphael is a cartel boss. False. Flora says, when is Raphael going to give instructions for the wearing of lederhosen? Well, that's not really an assumption that I can say true or false. I probably won't ever. I'm not from Bavaria, and lederhosen are a very Bavarian thing. People wear it when they go to the Wiesn, which is the Oktoberfest, which I typically don't go to because I'm not there at the time. My sister lives in Munich, so maybe I visit her someday during the Oktoberfest, and maybe at that point I'll make a video about how to wear lederhosen. Sensei Ron says, Raphael's house is immaculately clean. Wrong or false. I'm not a clean freak at all. In fact, I sometimes can just not look at it and don't notice it. My wife definitely does. We, have cleaners who come regularly, which is great. But we're not squeaky clean people at all times. Or is it all piled up and dirty? Well, sometimes stuff stays, a pile of magazines and stuff, but eventually we'll get around. Timo Acker says, Raphael eats potatoes with just salt on them. I'm also German, so I know this is true. False. I eat potatoes with sauce. I add pepper to them, or a bechamel sauce, or maybe, ketchup and mayonnaise, sriracha mayo, whatever it is. I like sauces. I like condiments. So, no. Adrian Clemens. I think Raphael is the one who always snipes my bid at the last second on eBay when I'm sport coat shopping. Well, I don't know, to be honest. I don't shop at eBay that much these days, so chances are it's false. Unless you have the exact same size as I do, probably I'm not going to snatch away the stuff from you. In terms of sport coats, lately probably if I buy some, then I found that the Isaiah size, like 54 with the right sleeve length, works for me. It's quite comfortable. Off the rack, it's a pretty good fit. So that's something I might snatch. Otherwise, no. False. Aceman says, Raphael looks like a man with a midlife crisis, about to spend half his savings on a Corvette. That's funny. Well, it's false, right? If I would spend half my savings, then definitely not on a Corvette. Even if to say the new Corvette is really nice. It looks much better than the old ones, with the engine, the weight distribution, all that stuff. I think they've come a long way. But even if I wanted to buy one right now, I think everything is insanely expensive due to the car prices, right? And at this stage in my life, I'm not into sports car buying. If I would buy one, then I would buy it for track racing. But then I figured out, what? You can go to all these great track days. BMW has them, Porsche has them, I think Ferrari has them. So if I want to do that, I will do just that, right? I'll go for 2 days, have fun, and then that's it, and then I'll just do it again. I know there's a Brainerd International Raceway here in Minnesota where people go and drive with their cars. I don't know. It's a lot of time investment. I have a daughter and I have a business to run and stuff. It's just not in the cards these days. Philip Swifty moves. Sven hates flip-flops with a fiery passion. Actually, I don't. My dad's Brazilian, and people there wear flip-flops a lot, especially on the beach. I have a few pairs, and that's where I wear them, at the beach or by the pool. That's about it. Vincent says, Raphael benutzt zu viel Sonnencreme. That means Raphael uses too much sunscreen. Actually, my wife bought this really nice sunscreen, and it was so expensive that I was like, wow, this is so pricey. You have to be very kind of stingy with it. And then, of course, I got like a sunburn, like maybe here because I didn't use it all the way. So now I use enough, but I'm not like just all white on my skin. And yeah, I do use it because, you still tan and it's just better for your skin. So David Prem Kumar says, I always thought Raphael was in his 40s just because of the way he was so knowledgeable about history and style. Well, I'm not, I'm 37, but a lot of people always thought I was older, even when I was younger. And I always thought of that as a good thing, right? Now, the art will be that as I'm, aging, people will still think I'm in my 40s, even though I'm older. But I mean, you can see losing hair here, getting gray. I'm a firm believer of, you are the age you are, and it's all about how you are in your mind. Are you young there? Are you snappy? Are you interesting and funny? And that's what matters. King Crusher, my first impression of Sven Raphael quite some years ago now was typischer BWLer, perfectly from a posh background. You know the drill. BWL means Betriebswirtschaftslehre, and it's like here, if someone would go to business school, for example. So they thought of me as the typical guy who goes to business school, wears the same stuff. Posh background, which I don't have. And I think my style is quite different from the typical business school student, but that's for you to judge. All right, now it's time for me to hand it off to Preston and see what people assume about him.
All right, my turn next. Let's see what assumptions our viewers have or had about me. First up here, we've got Eric Osagi, who says, Preston listens to Nickelback as a guilty pleasure. Well, I haven't listened to too much of Nickelback's catalog. I've probably heard a few of their bigger hits that got radio airplay back in the day, but I can safely say that I am not among Nickelback's super fans. Nothing against them, but just not my particular favorite genre. Next up, we've got Davey Reyes, who says, Preston is biding his time until he can commit a coup and take over the Gentleman's Gazette. To that, I will just say I can neither confirm nor deny anything. Next up here is Emmett M. McAdams, who says, Preston at first came across as too animatronic, yet now quintessential Rat Pack Cool of my favorite bygone era. Well, I certainly got a lot of robot, android comments at first. That was well addressed in my robot or elf FAQ video, which you can find here. But I'm glad that I seem to have found my voice a little bit more, gotten more comfortable on camera as time has gone on, and hopefully that's coming through to you, the viewers. The Modern Dandy says, I also assume that Preston wears a hat every day and everywhere, just like men did in the Golden Age. That one's pretty spot on, actually. I frequently tell people that if I am outside and I can feel the wind in my hair, I've done something wrong. I'm pretty much wearing a hat whenever I am out of doors or in public spaces, and try to follow the traditional rules of hat etiquette pretty judiciously. You can also find our video on hat etiquette here. Jimmy Day says, sorry, Preston got picked on in school. You might have that assumption based upon my background. I know that I am, a pretty stereotypical nerd, I guess you might say, in a lot of respects, but fortunately, I am happy to report that I really experienced next to no bullying in all of my schooling, so I was very happy about that. I was in a very friendly and supportive community when I was in my school days, so yeah, no real issues there. Dave's House says, Preston probably likes his Hot Pockets frozen or cold in the middle. Unless I am misremembering, I think I can make the claim that I have never had a Hot Pocket. So I guess I'd be curious to see what they're like, but even if I were to try one, I probably wouldn't have it frozen in the middle. Of course, now I'm just thinking about Jim Gaffigan's excellent routine on Hot Pockets, but that's a topic for another day.
Hot Pockets!
Bendak Starkiller says, Preston is tempted to teach patrons table manners every time he's in McDonald's. I can safely say that is not true. I also don't find myself in McDonald's terribly often, but I, try to keep to myself. Restaurant etiquette still extends to those environments, regardless of whether you're in a McDonald's or elsewhere. And if you were to intrude on the time of other diners and try to teach them table manners, I think it's safe to say they would not be loving it. So, not something I've done. All right, Scott Tennant says, Preston has a doctorate. Unfortunately, I do not. I have a bachelor's degree in history from Gustavus Adolphus College. Would I ever go back and pursue a higher degree, a master's degree or a doctorate? Perhaps, if I had the time and resources, but not something I've done up to this point. Jacob Baxter says, Preston is secretly a fan of the vintage farmer aesthetic, but knows the limits of the Gentleman's Gazette scope. How should I answer that? Well, I do have farmers in my lineage, both here in the United States and ancestrally in Germany. And, some of my family, as opposed to living here in the Twin Cities where Gentleman's Gazette HQ is located, lived in more rural parts of the state of Minnesota. One of my grandfathers was a diehard John Deere fan when it came to tractors and things. So I guess I've got a little bit of that in me, but not something I would partake in sartorially every day. Butter says, Preston wears an ascot without thinking twice. I don't wear ascots often. I have certainly worn them in some videos, but I would say, even though I once might have thought that it was a bit too flashy or a bit too out there for my own personal style, I think I've gotten more comfortable with it these days. I would consider wearing ascots more in my own wardrobe. Josh Other says, if anyone can become the Riddler, it's Preston. I'll take that as a compliment. As I have mentioned in other videos, I have been a huge Batman fan for many, many years. Particularly love Batman the Animated Series, and the Riddler was always one of my favorite villains in that show and elsewhere. I love his sort of analytical approach to crimes and that sort of thing, and particularly in the animated series, a snappy dresser as well. So I'll certainly take that. Principal Skinner says, Preston never felt accepted by peers his age, so got into classic menswear to impress and mingle with the older crowd. I would say there might be a kernel of truth to that. Not necessarily that I didn't feel accepted by my peers, but more so, once I got into classic menswear, I realized that one of its many benefits is that people older than you will take you seriously, or more seriously anyway, if you are young and following well the tenets of classic menswear. So I think that was an extra perk. But yeah, thanks for that comment, Principal Skinner. Love you on The Simpsons.
Delightfully devilish, Seymour.
Tommy Parton says, Preston uses gold leaf toilet paper. I think that would just make a terrific mess and would probably get everywhere and be fairly uncomfortable, not to mention kind of a waste of gold leaf. So not something I have partaken in. Jono Lukens says, Preston is an 84-year-old man in spirit manifested in a young lad found in a comic book store. Yep, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head with that one, Jono. I would say that is an excellent way to describe me. I'm not going to disagree with that at all. All right, 424 DSFDSFDSFSFS, excellent username there, says, Preston looks like a typical vice president at Pearson Pierce. Ah, yes, we've got the requisite American Psycho comment, even wearing sort of the corporate raider white and blue striped shirt today. But yeah, I've frequently been compared to the characters from American Psycho, so perhaps a future installment of our Menswear Reacts series, maybe? We'll see what happens. Pendroid says, "Whoa, it's Niles Crane." Yes, this is also some commentary that I've gotten frequently, and also, I would take that as a compliment, yeah. As I have mentioned elsewhere, Frasier is one of my favorite television shows of all time. I have watched the entire series through multiple times at this point and shared it with many people. And much as I do recognize his neurotic tendencies and various other things, I do also see many similarities between myself and Niles Crane, so I will definitely take that too. And finally, Striking Discord here says, "My assumption about Preston was, holy time travel exists, and this guy literally just crossed over from 1935. Voice, mannerisms, countenance, he isn't from this time." Well, I guess we're ending on another compliment here. I would certainly take that as well. As I've mentioned in many other videos, I am particularly partial to the menswear styles of the 1930s, right in the heart of the golden age of menswear. And, of course, I am a student of American history and pop culture from that era, the music, the movies, what have you. So I guess there is probably a good amount of 1930s in me, so I will take that as a compliment as well. So thank you for all of your various assumptions, whether flattering or less so. Always interesting to see what our commenters come up with. And now I will throw it over to Kyle for his assumptions.
Thanks, Preston. Now I'll take a look and see what people had to say about me. Eric Osage, I think I'm saying that right. He says, "Kyle puts milk before cereal." Actually, you are wrong. I like to put my cereal in first. It doesn't splash on me, but yeah, no, I don't do that, sorry. Next up, we've got someone named Samuel Schwager. Says, "Kyle has a side job as a bodyguard for a billionaire." How'd you know? How'd you know? Yes, I've got a very large paycheck coming from that job as well, too. I love it. Don't upset me. I might have to, I don't know, inflict some harm. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. Next, let's see. We've got someone named Timothy Burgess. Raphael and Kyle disagree the most when it comes to style. I don't know if we disagree completely. I mean, I certainly think can appreciate the more classic aspect of style, and I think he can understand, you know, why I like to do some of the things that I like to do, but we don't necessarily always dress like each other, so we certainly come from different ends of the spectrum, but I wouldn't say we're fighting about it or anything like that. Someone named Silver Streak. Okay, let's see, Silver Streak. Kyle is the Winston Zeddermore of the group, the everyman, who grounds these eccentric weirdos he is involved with. What can I say? That's what I do. That's what I do. I'm the peacemaker. I keep everybody in line. No, just kidding. Let's see. Next up, we have someone named Davey Rays. Kyle seems like he would be a big sports fan, maybe a basketball or an American football. I do enjoy watching sports. I don't necessarily play them too often. I did play basketball when I was in school for about 5 minutes. A very short-lived career. Wasn't that great. So I leave that for people who know what they're doing. Next, Kyle. Huge fan of the Great British Baking Show. I do enjoy cake. I do enjoy all kind of desserts. So watching them actually on that show has been interesting. I don't know how you knew that I do watch that show from time to time. It's a pretty interesting show. Next up, we have someone named Cheese Boy. Quite the name you got there, man. Kyle has 7 cats. Kyle has 0 cats. I have no cats right now. Don't plan on getting 7 cats. No. Next up, we have someone named James Graydon. He says Kyle is super passive aggressive. I can be passive aggressive. Maybe that's a result of being in the Midwest. I don't know if we all do that from time to time, but I can be passive aggressive sometimes. It says Kyle looks like a well-trained bodyguard. a well-dressed Secret Service agent, a movie star bodyguard, or Preston's bodyguard. I am Preston's bodyguard. He calls me all the time to fight his battles. I'm always on call fighting for Preston. No, I am not a bodyguard. That's actually been something someone has said to me in person before. It's funny how people will see something you don't see. I don't necessarily see myself as a bodyguard, but I guess some people find me intimidating. So go figure. I think overall, I mean, these are pretty funny and interesting assumptions. It's always funny to see what people might think of you from time to time, and some of these things are, certainly a little accurate. I do like watching the cooking shows. I like cooking. I'm not a bodyguard, and I don't play professional sports. So, I mean, some people were correct, some people weren't. But that's it for me today. Let's hand things off to Raphael to wrap up this video.
Now, that wraps things up for today. Honestly, your comments always amaze me. Sometimes they're funny, they're knowledgeable, they're insightful, and sometimes they're just plain stupid. Yeah, if you want to participate in that kind of stuff, make sure you follow the channel. You know how it works, you know how to subscribe, so I'm not going to tell you how to do it. So, yeah, see you around next time.